Okay, everybody, it is 7 o'clock, and if you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Zach, would you lead us? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our City Council meeting this evening, Monday, March the 23rd. Let's begin with roll call.
Tom Mikulek.
Here.
Bruce Smith. Jason Tate. Andrea Zielinski.
Here.
Ellen Porter.
Here.
Katie Williams.
Here.
Zach Weiss.
Here.
Shelley Briggs-Loosely.
Here.
So is Ellen on the... Oh, she's on the screen here. Okay, got it. Welcome, everybody. Yep. And we're going to begin with the National Library Week proclamation. So I'll read that first. And then, Chris, you know the drill. You can say a few words for us. Thanks. So National Library Week. Whereas Roseburg Public Library and libraries across the country are not just about what they have for their communities, but what they do for and with people. And whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions, often in the heart of their cities, towns, schools, and academic campuses. And whereas libraries serve people of all ages, interests, and backgrounds, providing the resources and space to engage in literacy and lifelong learning. And whereas libraries and librarians open up a world of possibilities through innovative programming and the power of reading. And whereas libraries and librarians look beyond the traditional roles and provide opportunities for community engagement and delivering services that connect with patron needs. And whereas librarians thoughtfully develop collections and programs that are wide-ranging and explore the diversity of our changing society. And whereas the Roseburg Public Library joins libraries, librarians, library workers, and library advocates across America in celebrating National Library Week with the theme, Find Your Joy. Now therefore I, Larry Rich, Mayor of the City of Roseburg, do hereby proclaim April 19th through the 25th as National Library Week. How about a nice round of applause?
Good evening. I'm Chris Wiley, Roseburg Public Library Director, and on behalf of the entire library team, thank you, Mayor and Councilors, for this recognition. In calendar year 2025, the library purchased 3,600 books, DVDs, and audiobooks on CD for the physical collection. 7,000 cardholders checked out 116,000 items. We produced 249 programs for 8,273 people. That's an average of 33 people per program, and we logged 74,000 visits. It's been my joy to serve as Roseburg Public Library's first library director since July of 2018. I'm grateful for the support the library has received from you and the community. I work with an amazing group of dedicated, knowledgeable people, not only at the library, but throughout the city. And I'm fortunate to serve under Nikki's leadership and with a fantastic management team. Roseburg Public Library is in its 8th year of operations, and I invite the community to stop in, say hello, grab a book, take a seat in one of our comfortable chairs, and enjoy the beautiful space that is your public library. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next thing is, it's not on the agenda, but I have an announcement to make, and it happens to be a retirement coming up. So Nikki has reached the retirement age, and she is going to retire soon. Nikki Messenger is our city manager, and she has notified me that she is ready to retire. Her last work day is June 30th. So we have 3 months before her last day arrives. And so for the council, then we need to get going right away in our search for a new city manager. And so what I'm going to recommend is Monday seems to be the day that we have the best opportunity to get everybody together, and we want to get started as soon as possible. So would you give us some quick thought here in terms of next Monday? We can meet like at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, or 6, or right after work. And it'll probably take about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I want to bring everybody up to speed in terms of what is involved in a city manager search. And I think, Andrew, you've gone through one. Yeah, and I don't think anybody else has, so we need to bring everybody on board on the city process there. So if you can make it, that would be great. It'll be next Monday for about an hour to an hour and a half. I kind of like to go down the line, and if you can tell me, hopefully you kind of know your schedule somewhat, and tell me if you think that might work for next Monday, because we'll have to reserve the room. So can we start maybe, Tom, with you? Do you think you can make it next Monday, 4 o'clock, 5 or 6, and give us an idea of what time might works for you?
Well, I'd be open all Monday, as far as I know, after 9.
Okay, well, these are 4, 5, or 6 in the evening after work. Okay, Andrea, what about you?
Yeah, I'm available any of that time.
Okay. Katie?
I'll be driving back from Portland on Monday, so the later 5 or 6 is better for me.
5 or
4,
6?
The 4 o'clock might be kind of pushing it.
Okay.
6, actually.
Is better?
Yeah.
Okay. And Zach?
6 o'clock would be better for me.
Okay.
I can make any of those work.
Any of those. Ellen?
Yeah, Monday late afternoon works for me. 6 would probably be about the latest I'd want to start, because I still will be an hour ahead of you at that point.
Okay. How about if we go at 6 o'clock? It looks like we might have the better shot at that time. And then would you make sure Jason and Ruth? No. Okay, so 6 o'clock on next Monday. We'll meet here, and like I said, plan on an hour to an hour and a half. We're going to make some decisions in terms of what is the process, because we got to kind of get everybody on speed for that. Okay, so thanks. We're on number 4, commission reports. Anybody have a meeting? Katie, you're up.
Oh, where'd it go? Hold on, I have my notes. Okay. So the Library Commission recommended the council adopt the library's new 5-year strategic plan, which will come to a future council meeting. And kind of exciting, the Friends of the Library raised $2,700 at the book sale this month, and all the leftover books are free in the Friends bookstore during library hours.
Okay, thanks. Zach, did you have your hand up? Oh, you did. Okay, Andrew?
Public Works did meet, and we had a couple of recommendations that you'll see on the agenda tonight, but Commission recommended City Council reject all bids for the Parrot Creek Culvert Project, and you'll learn more about why. And then also recommended to award Water Master Plan Development contract to Consor North America, and we'll talk more about that later as well.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Anybody else have a meeting? Are there any ward reports? All right, the next thing on the agenda is our audience participation, and I have the sign up. We have 30 minutes allotted for audience participation, and I have 10 people signed up, so we're going to hear from those 10. You'll have 3 minutes total, and we're not going to have a warning this time. That way you'll get your whole 3 minutes in. When you do hear the buzzard sound go off, then realize your time is up, so please sit down right away so we can get the next person in, and we like to get all 10 of them that have signed up. So those that are on Zoom waiting, we won't get to them. Those that did not sign up, we won't get to you. So it'll be the 10 that have signed up, and we're going to go in the order that the sign up occurred. So the first one is Julian Gomez. There's a platform right there. Speak real close to that microphone because it's hard to hear you. If you don't, we'll need your name, address, and then you'll have your 3 minutes.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Hello, members of the council. I'm here today to talk about something really important that's going to affect our community. On March 20th, the federal government posted an ad about leasing non-residential buildings to support immigration enforcement, customs enforcement. I'm here today to oppose any support of ICE. I'll get to their atrocities in a moment. I want us to reflect for 1 second that Oregon is a sanctuary state. What happened? What does that mean? A study from the National Immigration Law Center shows that sanctuary policies make communities safer and more prosperous. Not only that, but undocumented people have been contributing over $90 billion in taxes to the economy every year using their ITINs, or individual taxpayer ID numbers. Also, Umpqua Valley wine is some of the best in the country. Who do you think is going to be primarily working those vineyards? Which industries do you think will be most impacted from immigration raids? So hopefully I've humanized migrants to some degree. Now for some fun facts about ICE. Let's start with their concentration camps and their continuous purchase of land around the country to make more. The infamous Alligator Alcatraz in Florida thankfully shut down. More than 1,200 detainees have disappeared. Not deported, not released, disappeared off the grid. The families cannot find them. These aren't the worst of the worst, as this pedophilic administration keeps claiming. As of January of this year, 41% of these people detained have zero criminal record. These are humans who have lived in the U.S. for years, trying to raise families, work and help our economy, and have posed zero threat. A concentration camp in Dilley, Texas, has terrible conditions, including moldy food, used underwear, inadequate toiletries, and rampant disease. This is the same facility that nearly 600 children have been held in. Citizens and migrants are both being killed because of ICE and their policies. I shouldn't have to differentiate between the two. What kind of society are we trying to live in? Where a pedophile starts a war and uses our taxes to attack us in our own communities. If Roseburg wants to progress from its violent and racist past and join the world to build a safer world for everyone, then we should reject all attempts from the federal government to expand this racist, murderous, costly, and stupid organization. Thank you for your time.
Sherry, see, Sherry or Diana, which one?
Good evening. This comment is on behalf of myself, Sherry Chambers, and my partner, Diana Bailey. And it also is regarding the potential rental of office space to the Department of Homeland Security to serve as workstations for ICE personnel. We became aware that the DHS is seeking opportunities to establish ICE workstations in Roseburg, Oregon. We strongly oppose renting office space to DHS and ICE because this agency and their agents are habitually operating outside the U.S. Constitution and are routinely violating the civil rights of U.S. citizens and legal immigrants. ICE personnel lack adequate law enforcement training and have not been held accountable for killing, injuring, and wrongly detaining U.S. citizens. Further, ICE personnel are aggressively targeting non-white people and detaining them without cause, question, or due process. These types of actions are blatantly illegal and racist. We do not want to welcome their violence and lawlessness to our peaceful city. Please understand that in our opinion, your first priority as a city council is to do all that you can to ensure the health and safety of Roseburg residents. Permitting ICE to operate an office in Roseburg is sure to decrease the safety of our residents and the security of our community. Thank you.
Now, if you don't mind, try not to go too long with that because we want to get all 10 through. So please don't cut off anybody. Sarah Landeros, before you come up here, I'm going to leave you to the end since yours is a little different. Okay, so we'll hear the ICE, but I'll guarantee you we'll get you. Okay. Lori Price.
Mr. Mayor and council members, I'm here to oppose the ICE facility. And I just want to share a little bit about my background. I spent close to 3 decades working as a city employee, and I was trying to think of what a council can do to oppose. This is a little different how they're coming in, sneaking, I call it, into our community. They're, instead of trying to build a facility where they might have to come to a planning commission or a council for approval, they're actually trying to rent office space. So what my thought is if you support us that oppose this, that we might get this on a future agenda, the next council meeting, and get your official support of opposition. It's horrible for communities. I mean, the means and methods of what they're doing, it's just, I mean, you've all seen the news. We don't want this here. Thank you.
Thank you. Chrisette?
No, so you can take me off the end there. I wrote it down. It's the last name that was on there, I believe. Yeah.
Wait a second. It's Chrisette Palashue?
Yeah.
But he's
Standing in, basically.
You're standing in
Yeah,
for
yeah.
her?
And I wrote my name in just in case, but because she might have had to leave, and so it was.
So who are you, Sean?
Sean Vincent, yes.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you. First off, I want to state clearly that I am, without hesitation, that I'm firmly opposed to the presence of ICE or any expanded immigration enforcement in our community. We must take a step back and consider the broader consequences of what this would mean, not just in theory, but in the day-to-day reality of our town. Increased immigration enforcement doesn't happen in a vacuum. It creates fear, instability, and disruption. Workers who are essential to our local economy will disappear, some forced to flee, others detained, many caught up in situations that raise serious questions about fairness and a lack of due process. We are already seeing the effects. Attendance in classrooms is dropping, job sites are understaffed. This is not speculation, it is happening now. Standing in basically, the reality is our farms and small businesses depend on this workforce. And the truth is, very few people in our community are willing to able to take on these jobs that wages are currently offered. That leaves small businesses with impossible choices. Raise wages beyond what they can sustain and risk going under, or shut their doors entirely. We don't have to guess what this looks like. We can look at states like Florida, where aggressive enforcement led to labor shortages so severe that crops went unharvested and local economies suffered. Farm communities were hollowed out. That ripple effect doesn't stop at the field, it spreads to every corner of the local economy. At the same time, we have to ask what it means to bring heavily armed federal enforcement into a quiet community like ours. These are individuals operating with broad authority, often with limited accountability or training to the people who live here. That should concern us all, regardless of where we stand politically. And beyond economics and safety, there is a deeper moral question we cannot ignore. History shows us what can happen when groups of people are singled out, targeted, and dehumanized. While the contexts are different, the warning signs, fear-based policies, collective punishment, and the erosion of civil liberties and patterns we have seen before. We should not ignore them. It is also important to ground this conversation in facts. Study after study has shown that undocumented immigrants commit crimes at lower rates than U.S. citizens. If public safety is truly our priority here, then we should be focusing on our attention and resources where they actually make a difference, with the trafficking of sexual trafficking and domestic violence in this town. So I ask you members of the council to think carefully about the path forward. If ICE presence expands here, the consequences will not be abstract. They will be shown up in our schools, in our businesses, and in our neighborhoods. And when that happens, people will come to you for answers. In that moment, you will have to decide, will you say there is nothing you can do, or will you stand behind the impact of these decisions? I don't believe anyone here wants to be in that position. This is ultimately about the kind of community we want to be. Do we choose fear and division?
Sean, I think that's the buzzer. I gotta cut you off for the 3 minutes. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Lori Wick, you're next.
Thank thank you everybody for being here tonight and actually being of service here for the city of Roseburg. I know you all volunteer and give a lot of your time and talent and care to our community. I'm here to oppose the potential office space rental for ICE that's advertised on Homeland Security's website. And so it could be here, or it could be in the county area as jurisdiction as well. They are being paid $22 to $30 billion. This budget exceeds that of the U.S. federal prison for each year for a federal enforcement agency that if you looked at what they look like in their uniforms before this administration and after this administration, you would see a completely different type of a uniform and how they look. They look like a military branch now, and they're pretty close to being funded in that level of funding, and that will be $75 billion through 2029. And so I had read in the paper that somebody in another county reached out to the federal agencies to invite ICE to their community. I don't know if that's happened here. Maybe a leader has reached out, and maybe there's a supportive county level leader or a city level leader as to why only Portland or Roseburg is listed on Homeland Security as the two places that they're looking to find office spaces. But that's deeply concerning on many levels. So just the other people before me reiterate the same concerns that I have. We see it all in the news, and I just wanted to share that here tonight with you all, that there's it doesn't make sense that they would be trying to establish here, except for I do understand that we have a jail system that does receive inmates on a regional level. So I just kind of looking forward into trends and systems and why maybe they're strategically looking to Roseburg, but I'm just kind of asking questions and wondering. So I brought that here tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, it looks like Lupe McAllister. Did I say it right? Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Tom?
would you remind our presenters to please give us their name and where they are from?
Okay, so the remaining people, there's been a request to please make sure you give us your name and where you are from. Okay?
Good evening. Hi, Tom. My name is Lupe Preciado McAllister. I live on the outskirts of the city proper. So I'm here on behalf of myself, a lot of undocumented people that have lived through a lot of this crap that is going to happen to this town should you allow it to happen. I've lived in portions of the world where just going home, I have to go by bunkers, and this is in Mexico, to get home. If you think that ICE is not going to bring that to this city, you're wrong, because it's happening now. They're killing our people. They don't care if you're white, brown, yellow. I mean, it's happening everywhere. So I would encourage you guys to think twice about voting yes for this. Number one, our systems, the infrastructure is not there. Who's going to pay for the increase in sewer systems? Water industries, are they going to come in and for the goodness of their own whatever, greed, put in the water system that it will be able to handle whatever support these people need? No, they're going to expect the taxpayer, us, the people behind us, you people, to pay for all this crap. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I get really pissed off at what this administration is doing to all its citizens. Everybody has a right to live in this country. Some people escape trying to come to this country for a better life. Is that a crime? I don't think so. I came to this country 61 years ago. This world has changed a great deal, not all for the good. Please, I beseech you, don't allow this to happen. It is frightening what follows. Thank you.
Okay, next up is M.A. Hanson.
My name is M.A. Hanson, and I didn't expect that. I guess what I signed up there meant that I was going to speak. But I want to tell you that I have just heard the best things I hear, that everything I've heard is exactly what I'd want to say. It really means it. And another thing I want to say, I have lived in many countries in this world. I have never thought this would happen to the United States. Where are we? Why are we allowing this to happen? And this, you ain't seen anything yet. I've seen a lot of this happen in a lot of countries. We don't want this to happen here. Let's stop it.
Rachel Wiesenhunt, you're next.
Hi, Mayor and Council. I'm very happy to be here tonight. I'm Rachel Wiesenhunt, and I'm a resident of Roseburg. I've lived here 19 years. I am a displaced Austinite, and I have learned to love this community. I'm here to voice my opposition to renting to ICE facilities. I heard an officer speaking moments ago about the cooperation in this state with police and ICE on certain things. And as I've heard the news people talk, we understand we want the worst of the worst out. I'm afraid what proposing for Roseburg and ICE facility rental would be detrimental to the community. The wine industry, the water. We have a beautiful river. My God, we have forest fires. We need our water. And if anybody's ever spent time in a very large hospital like I did to help my daughter get a liver transplant, I guarantee you there's not a lot of first language English from any of the doctors, nurses, healthcare, maintenance. Please, we don't want this in America. I don't want an ICE facility. I love this community, and I oppose renting to ICE.
Okay, the last speaker will be Sarah. You're up. Yeah, and just make sure there's a red light there, so make sure you push that button so we can hear you. It should be that long bar.
Oh, let me come here. Good evening, Mayor Rich, City Council members, and staff. My name is Sarah Landeros, and I live in the Southgate neighborhood. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of myself and many concerned Southgate residents who packed this room last September with over 200 petition signatures opposing an urban campground at the old Ready Way Depot on 1899 Southeast Stevens. We really appreciate that council previously voted against this purchase. But however, recent actions and information that I've been privy to have left many of us worried that this plan could be silently moving forward. One thing that makes us think this is the mayor has stated that they would be revisiting past options. But my main concern and our main concern is that we are deeply troubled by apparent conflicts of interest involving Homeless Commission member Ben Tatone. As a real estate developer and real estate agent of multiple properties near these camps, his advocacy for this other specific spot at 1899, including his push for a new homeless fund and tax, and questions about holding non-public discussions on property acquisitions, raises serious concerns under Oregon ethics and public meeting laws. Transparency and fairness demand that any commissioner with a financial stake back from decisions or recommendations that could benefit them or their associates. By being a member of the Homeless Commission, he could be in violation of ORS 244.040, prohibitive use of office, using the Homeless Commission for personal financial gains or to avoid losses. Also, a bunch of other 244.02, I'm not going to go on there. So what we are doing, due to this conflict of interest, we are respectfully asking that you, the city, or a nonprofit, any other public or private entity, cease and desist any and all past, present, or future plans to put an urban campground here, an emergency shelter, a houseless village, a homeless camp, or any such facilities at 1899 Southeast Stevens Street, Roseburg, and direct staff to explore only appropriate non-residential locations like the property by the Armory. No neighborhood should be destroyed for this when other properties are available that are much better suited. We would like to see a statement of economic interest from this member, and also we plan to request an FOIA request of all emails, texts, and communications in regard to this property. Please don't put a homeless camp in our neighborhood. If I'm incorrect, I apologize. But from past experience, I would rather be safe than sorry. And the things I've heard and seen, I just have to say something before this. I wake up and there's a homeless camp across the street from my house. I also would ask that the city also enforce basic codes in my neighborhood. It's been a major problem for the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, we have derelict cars that have been parked on the side of the street that say like shitbox on them. Sorry, my language. It's just ridiculous. Now, as far as the homeless, okay.
Sarah, I gotta cut you off. Sorry about that.
That's fine. I just hope that you guys take some consideration. I'm gonna leave some stuff here. This is a file of properties that are major, I believe, are conflict of interest as well as these ones. I'm taking these with me. I will leave these with you because those are the ones I'm most concerned about.
Okay, and then
I can just leave
we'll
these
get it. Yeah, just leave it right there and we'll get it. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, that completes our audience participation. Thank you, everybody, for your input. We do appreciate it. We have the opportunity here. We're not voting on it, so I know some people said we're voting on it. We're not voting on it at all. And so we're going to take a break so that if you want to get up and leave, you're more than welcome to. If you want to see what a city council meeting is like, you can hang around for the next hour and a half and watch us as we conduct our city business. So it's 7:35, and we will take a break. And at 7:40, we're going to continue on with the rest of the meeting. Okay? Okay, everybody, we're going to try to get our meeting back in order. So if you can find your seats, then we'll be able to begin. Okay, we are going to call this meeting back to order. We are on number 6, consent agenda. We have 3 items: March 9th, 2026 regular meeting minutes, the reimbursement request OGEC legal fees, and the OLCC new outlet Majestic Theater on Main Street. Do we have a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Number 7 is the resolution for the Fir Grove improvements. Staff report.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Tonight I have another funding opportunity to present to you for the Fir Grove multi-use turf field project. Tonight, staff is seeking authorization to apply for a local government grant from the Oregon Department of Parks and Recreation to assist with funding of the Fir Grove Field Improvements Project. And the issue for council tonight is whether to adopt the attached resolution authorizing the grant application. As you're all aware, we've been looking at, in recent meetings, getting funding going for improving 2 soccer fields or 2 sports fields at Fir Grove Park. This project will install 2 fields at the eastern portion of Fir Grove. Both fields will be striped to allow for additional users that could include adult soccer and youth soccer, lacrosse, and football. The project also includes field lighting, perimeter fencing, and ADA accessibility. If authorized, staff will be requesting $1 million from Oregon Parks and Rec Department, local government grant program. The grant program requires a local match of 40% or $400,000. Staff recently secured a $666,320 grant from Umpqua Health Alliance, and that money can be used as that match money. So we've met the requirement of the grant. The preliminary cost estimate for the project is $3 million. Additional funds would come from fundraising from Umpqua United Soccer Club, Stewart Park Trust, Park Improvement Fund, and transient lodging tax revenues. The local government grant program opened its yearly grant cycle March 2nd. The grant submission requires a resolution from the City Council authorizing the application for the grant. Grant applications are due no later than June 5th, 2026. The Parks and Recreation Commission discussed this grant application at their March 4th, 2026 meeting and unanimously recommended that City Council adopt the resolution, authorizing staff to proceed with the application. And staff concurs with that recommendation. I'd be happy to take questions.
Anybody have any questions? Tom?
Do we know how much money the soccer club has put in?
They have not submitted anything to the city at this time, Tom.
Are we going to expect them to help in the maintenance and repairs of the new turf fields?
That the maintenance plan has not been proposed at this time.
Anybody else? Questions? Are we ready for a motion?
I move to adopt resolution number 2025-05, authorizing and supporting the application for an Oregon Parks and Recreation Department. Oh, sorry. I should use my glasses here. Sorry. Authorizing and supporting the application for an Oregon Parks and Recreation Department local government grant for the Fir Grove Field improvements.
Second.
Record, I think it's 2026. I think you might have said 2025.
I probably did 20 because I didn't wear my glasses.
It's okay.
Sorry. Do you want me to do the whole thing over?
No, if you're good.
Yeah.
I think you said 2026
She
05.
did. She
and
did.
it's she said 2025 05.
Yeah, sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
Just say the whole
Wear
thing.
my glasses. Okay, I'll do it all over. I move to adopt resolution number 2026-05, authorizing and supporting the application for an Oregon Parks and Recreation Department local government grant for the Fir Grove Field improvements.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. What do we got here? 3,
Ellen,
4,
are you you look like you were an aye.
I was gonna say aye, but I can't hear anybody else say aye, and I try to when I'm online I try to say aye when everybody else says aye, but I'm not hearing anything from anybody else. So aye.
Yeah. Okay, motion carries 3, 4, 5 to 1. Number 8, Parrot Creek Culvert Replacement Bid Rejection.
Second item I have for you tonight is the Parrot Creek Culvert Replacement Project rejection of all bids. As you are aware, during the March 16th flood event last year, we suffered 3 failures of road culverts along Parrot Creek. In addition, we also noticed that the crossing at Ichabod was didn't suffer any damage, but was in the same vintage and pipe material, so we were looking at replacing that at this time as well. The construction bid documents were advertised on February 4th of 26, and the bids were open on March 10th. During the bid review period, it was discovered that 2 bids that were submitted electronically were detained in the city's email security quarantine and were inaccessible by city staff during the bid opening. And staff is currently working with IT to resolve this issue. In addition, an error in the bidding documents included conflicting information regarding the requirement for bidders to be pre-qualified. Based on this error, it is likely that any award would be protested. The project should not be awarded, and the project will require a rebid. In order to accomplish this, council will need to reject all bids. The fiscal year 25-26 storm budget includes $2.1 million for this project. The proposed rejection of the bids does not have financial impact to the city. If the council concurs with the recommendation to reject all bids, the project will be rebid tomorrow, March 24th, with results presented to the Public Works Commission and council in April. The Public Works Commission discussed this at their March 12th, 2026 meeting, and the commission recommended that the city council reject all bids, and staff concurs with this recommendation. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Tom?
So there were some bids that did not get adjudicated because they got stuck in the...
Yeah, we had 2 bids that got caught in email quarantine. We got 2 layers of quarantine set up, and they got caught in the first layer of quarantine, and were not visible by city staff.
So what's represented here are 3 companies, when in actuality there were 5.
No, there was, so we opened 7 bids.
Okay.
With those 2, it would have been 9.
Oh, okay. So now they got to be given a chance again, right?
Yes.
The 2 got excluded, yeah.
The biggest issue was the conflict in the bid documents pertaining to whether the bidder had to be pre-qualified. The low bidder, typically on a project like this, we would require pre-qualification. The low bidder was not pre-qualified. So there was, with a conflict in the bid documents, he had right to protest it because there was another page in the bid documents that said he did not have to be pre-qualified.
Are these culverts, have they been enlarged a little bit?
Yes, state law requires when we modify or touch these culverts, they have to be updated to allow for fish passage, which means we can't put in the typical round diameter culvert. They have to be an open bottom, either box culvert or arch pipe culvert with a natural creek bottom.
And they'll be able to pass more water?
Correct.
Okay.
Jack? Is this going to delay the project?
So the reason for the quick turnaround on the bid is to get it back out and back in front of council as soon as possible. We do have an in-water work period from July 1 to September 15th. It's quite likely we can request an extension to that in-water work period, but that won't be known until we get into the fall and see what water levels are looking like.
Okay.
So a question on the rebidding. So there were 7 that bid, that their bids were opened up, and we see the top 3. So all of those 7 see each other's bids, so they know when they go out to rebid again, the 7, their numbers are known, except for the 8th and 9th person. Is that the case?
Correct. When we open the bids, we post the summary that day so they know the total bid the contractor put out there. They don't know each of the individual line items and their unit pricing.
So if somebody is to rebid now, then you're person 7, you at least know all the first 7 what they bid. You just don't know who 8 and 9 is.
That's correct.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions?
If by chance this does delay through the season, because we're looking to try and get this done this year, correct?
That's correct.
Are those temporary repairs going? I mean, obviously, it all depends on what happens with the season coming up, which we don't know. But are those temporary repairs stable enough to withstand a moderate season?
They've survived. They've handled the water well this year. We have had a drier year, but we've had a couple of good rain events, and they've handled it well.
Okay.
We've put in the same diameter, so it's the same capacity as what we had prior to last March 16th event.
So the temporary fix was just a replacement of what existed?
Correct. We were allowed to put in the same diameter culvert as a temporary repair, but it couldn't remain permanent.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Questions? Are we ready for a motion?
I move to reject all bids for the Parrot Creek Culvert Replacement Project.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We're on number 8B, Water System Master Plan.
So the third item I have for you tonight is an engineering contract for updating our water system master plan. Staff recently completed a qualifications-based selection process followed by a pricing proposal-based selection process for engineering services updating the city water master plan. The issue for council is whether to authorize the engineering contract for the development of that master plan. The city's existing master plan is 16 years old and needs to be updated due to age, urban growth boundary changes, and other recent developments, including transmission main projects. The Oregon Health Authority OAR Chapter 333 requires all domestic providers with 300 or more service connections to have a master plan of their system to guide expansion and maintenance for at least a 20-year period. And our city has a little over 11,500 connections. The city of Roseburg contracts with a consultant to develop a water system master plan to determine how to maintain or upgrade the water treatment plant, distribution, and storage systems in the most effective and cost-efficient manner. The projects and recommendations that are established as part of the Water Master Plan development process will be incorporated into a capital improvement plan that the city will use to budget and prioritize improvement projects. Roseburg Municipal Code 3.06.050 requires engineering service contracts estimated to have a value of over $100,000 be awarded by council based on the consultant's qualifications. Also, Oregon Administrative Rule 137.048.0220, the formal selection procedure, requires the city to create a short list of consultants, minimum of 3. Once the short list of qualified consultants is created, the city can request those shortlist providers provide a price proposal via a request for proposal. On this request for qualifications, we received 3 consultant applications. When evaluating the price proposals, the city cannot assign more than 15% of the overall weight of the scoring based on the pricing proposal. To determine the most qualified candidate, city staff prepared a request for qualifications that interested consulting firms could submit on. The RFQ was evaluated in 2 different phases. The first phase was qualifications based, and the second was a pricing proposal based. The scoring criteria in the RFQ was intended to allow submitters to showcase their experience, qualifications, vision, and overall pricing and value. The RFQ was advertised on November 7th, 2025. The statement of qualifications were received on December 18th, 2025. The SOQs were initially reviewed based on phase 1 criteria qualifications. The SOQs were reviewed and ranked by a committee of 3 Public Works staff members. The results are in your memo shown in Table 1. On the qualifications-based portion of the review, Consul North America scored the highest with 80 points out of 85. Keller and Associates scored just under 77 points out of 85. And Water Service Consulting, 69 points out of the 85. After the first phase review was completed, staff asked the 3 submitters to provide a pricing proposal based on a Water Master Plan template scope that staff developed. The result of the second phase of the review is shown in Table 2 in your memo. The scores are based on an overall price, hourly costs, and individual involved and perceived value. In this portion of the review, Keller Associates scored just under 14 out of 15 points. Consul North America, a little over 11 out of 15 points, and Water Service Consulting, 10 out of 15 points. After combining those two scores, Consul North America ranked highest out of 100 points with 91.33 points. The fiscal year 25-26 water fund budget includes $500,000 for the development of the water system master plan. The pricing proposal developed by the highest rated proposer, Consul North America, was $379,926. Staff reserved the option to accept the amount as submitted from the pricing proposal, and that is staff's recommendation. If authorized, a contract with Consul North America will be executed as soon as practical. The development of the water system master plan is expected to take approximately 1 year to complete, with a completion scheduled for summer of 2027. Funds have been budgeted and are available for the project. The Public Works Commission discussed this contract at their March 12th, 2026 meeting and unanimously recommended awarding the contract to Consul North America, and staff concurs with this recommendation. With that, we'll open up to questions.
Anybody have any questions?
So this is just a bid to provide a master plan, no actual digging or anything like that, right?
That's correct. It's a planning document that we'll use to guide how the city maintains the water system and infrastructure over the next 20 years.
And so that's about $35 a hookup per house, isn't it? Just for planning it.
Yeah, I didn't do the math on that, Tom.
I think you said 11,000 hookups?
Yeah.
375,000. About $35 a piece.
One that does the engineering services.
So the last two master plans were developed by a company, Maurice Smith and Associates. The first one being in 1993. The most recent one that we're working on started in 2008, was adopted by council in 2010. Consul North America purchased Maurice Smith and Associates. So similar folks that we're working with, the project manager that they proposed actually put together our 2010 master plan.
Got it. Anybody else? Questions? Are we ready for a motion?
I move to authorize the engineering contract with Consul North America for the development of a water system master plan for a cost not to exceed $379,926.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Number 9, items. Any items to come forward? Nikki?
Couple of things. Reminder that everybody's SEI filing is due by April 15th. You should have gotten an email on that. I already got mine.
Oh, never mind then.
And at the goal setting, we talked about trying 6 p.m. work study sessions. So our plan was, and this went out in my Friday message, but if you didn't see it, at the next meeting, we'll have a 6 p.m. work study with the hope of narrowing down the topic for homeless, because we heard time, place, and manner during goal setting. We've heard the point. We've heard urban campground. So if we can kind of narrow down what you want that first set of topics to be, that would be helpful, so that we're bringing you what you want to see. so that we can be a little more efficient in what we do with that time. So that is scheduled for the 13th. So we will send out a meeting invite for that.
What's that?
Ellen's got her hand up.
Oh, okay. Ellen?
Thank you. I erroneously sent out an email again, and Amy, I apologize for that. I'll figure that out one of these days. I'm sure. But in that email, I mentioned that I had received some requests from some constituents in my neck of the woods to ask staff to please bring if they can compile the costs of what it takes to manage or to work with the homeless community. So I'm wondering if we can do that. I'm sorry, that came out entirely inarticulately, so I apologize. But I guess that's a question for Nikki. Nikki is I know you probably saw how I outlined it in the email, but is that something that staff can pull together?
Yeah, it's something, if the body wants us working on that, it's not something I have already calculated with staff salaries and things like that. So that's, I think, what Amy addressed, is it would take action from the body directing us to do that.
Yep. Okay. Is that something that we can vote on or raise hands on tonight to see if staff can pull those figures together?
You could probably just do a nodding of heads. Is everybody familiar with the email that was sent, and does everybody understand what was requested?
I read it. Can we restate what we want, or what Ellen wants?
Yeah. So Ellen, if you're requesting it, can you state what you're requesting, and then if council can just basically indicate if they're comfortable with staff spending time trying to compile that data, then that's the best way to do that.
Okay. I'm going to just read it from my email, if that's okay. If I can find it. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so what the folks are looking for is information on the average costs associated with the homeless population, and that seemed like a very broad request, and so the way that I narrowed it down was it might be a good approach to analyze how much the cost is per person at the Gary Leaf Navigation Center, and then also the cost for the second category, the cost of the campers in the general Roseburg vicinity that aren't in the Gary Leaf Navigation Center but are camping in parks, etc. To include the disposal costs, Officer Chavez's burden salary, and then we had heard at the goal setting workshop that 60% of the police calls and 40% of the fire calls and responses are associated with homeless. And so I kind of grouped for the campers camping outside the disposal costs, Officer Chavez's burden salary, and then the 60% of police calls and responses and 40% of the police or the fire calls and responses. And there may be other costs there that staff's aware of that could be included. I just don't know of them off the top of my head. So if staff could pull together those two general categories, the costs associated with those, that would be helpful. That makes sense?
Yeah, Andrew, I think probably has a question.
Yeah, well, I don't have a question. I think to make sure that this has truly descriptive of what the true cost is, or the burden to our taxpayers is the source of funds. So not only, at a request that staff clearly identify how much of the Gary Leaf Navigation Center monthly operating cost is reimbursed by the state of Oregon versus how much is paid by the Roseburg General Fund.
So that would be, so Andrea, I'm sorry. So that would be so they would include the whole cost, but then they would break out, but delineate so that it's apparent to people how much of that is reimbursed. Am I interpreting what you said correctly?
Yes, so that people understand what the true cost is to the taxpayers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Zach, did you have a
I agree
comment
with
or
Andrew. I
question?
think that's a really good delineation to have those two. I think it's good to have all of the information, as much information as we can, but as many delineations between that stuff as possible, so that when we make a choice or make a decision, we can be as informed as possible. Yeah.
Okay, so unless we're adding anything, is everybody comfortable with staff spending time doing that? Nodding of heads.
And then probably what we want to do is follow what we learned on our goal setting session, and that is we agreed no more nodding of the heads, that I'd go right down the line and you have to say yes or no individually. Okay, isn't that what we kind of agreed on?
And just, I guess, one more kind of question, because that was kind of broad. Do you, when they're compiling this information and the cost, is it monthly? Is it yearly?
I think what they were looking for was annually. I think which would be a little bit easier for Nikki's staff to come up with an annual cost rather than to try to break it down by month.
How far back are we going? And to be accurate, we would need to actually go back and look at police and fire calls. So that came out of that same consultant writing on the board and like, how many percentage do you think it is? And the chief's just throwing something at the board. So I can't just go take 60% of the cost of the entire fire department and say that now is associated with homelessness. And those costs are opportunity costs, right? Those are costs that they might be doing other things, but we wouldn't be laying off 60% of the police department if we didn't have a homeless population. So I want to build an expectation that if that's not money that's available to do other things, it's money that pays police officers. And we will have to spend some time really chasing that down. But that was, I don't know where Gary is. Oh, he's in the back of the room. That was sort of a off the cuff number. So we need to tighten that up a little bit. So how many years are we wanting to go back?
And Nikki, to make it relatively simple, I would maybe just go back 2 years. I don't know how everybody else feels, but going back 5 years is probably going to be fairly burdensome.
Would it make more sense to compile how many calls for service had to do with homelessness instead of a number? Because you're paying law enforcement and fire no matter what. But if we had information about this is how many calls,
The chief is nodding yes. So he's going to be, he or his staff will be compiling that data. I don't have access to it. So
because it really doesn't make, they're being paid no matter what. That doesn't change the amount of money. It's just maybe if we know how many calls they respond to and it has to do with homelessness.
And I would I can understand Andrea's point there, but since it is an opportunity cost, I think it's valuable to put a number on it. So I think it would be nice to at least try to estimate how much time, because otherwise they would be working or could be working on other issues.
Well, really the only person being paid would be Officer Chavez, because that's what he's assigned to is.
Actually, I mean, I think Officer Chavez is appears to be his full-time job. But there's a lot of other officers that respond to calls when, especially when Officer Chavez is not on duty.
I do agree with Ellen as far as the burden across the entirety of it. I don't think looking at just one, I think that would give us a false idea of what's really being spent. So looking across the full department. But then I also, just to add to, as far as my opinion when it comes to how far back to look, I think looking, if we're going to direct staff to spend time and energy looking at this, I think we need to have them look at enough information that it can be something we really look at as far as data goes, instead of hoping we had gotten more. I honestly think we should look back to like 3 or 4 years. That way we can see trajectories and actual any sort of trending that's happening with it. 2 years is really hard to decide what's happening or create any assessment.
I'm just trying to figure out, how do you distinguish some of that data to make sure that it's accurate in terms of, we're there because this person's homeless, we're not in that camp because that person committed a crime someplace and we're going to arrest you, and there's where we found you, is right there. Because it's like, okay, does that mean that was a homeless issue, or does that mean that person committed a crime somewhere and they found him, and here's where they found him? So now how does that get logged in? Because if you're a regular citizen, you commit a crime and they find you, they're going to arrest you where they find you.
Yeah.
And Mayor, I think that there's going to be a lot of nuances like that as they're going through their records, and I think that we would probably just need to be able to lean on Chief Gary's discretion there to try to estimate that. I don't think that there's a surgical way really of doing that entirely accurately, but I think Chief Gary probably has a pretty good idea how to estimate that. I would think, and I see he's at the podium.
Yeah, we will have to go through all 35,000 calls and look.
Is that on?
It's hard to hear.
I don't think it's on.
Pretty close. I don't want to touch it.
No.
Yeah, we'll have to go through all 35,000 calls per year ish and look at every single one individually and then open them. So this is gonna take a minute. So a fat minute.
Do you have any ways that you would be able, like, do you have any delineating labels, something that you can think of off the top of your head that would give us maybe some sort of idea as far as those resources go?
Yes, the obvious calls, yes, but then there's lots of calls. I think, as someone just said, that you got to open them to see if they end up being not what they're, not what's reported, and it actually is a homeless related call. There's someone walking in the street, could be an elderly person that had nothing to do with homelessness, or it could be a homeless person experiencing crisis. So we have to go through. It'll be a few months worth of work.
Is there any labels that would be associated with, instead of trying to label this as a homeless issue, because the homeless, that's a broad term in general, to be completely honest, when you really start talking about it, but like any sort of vagrancy terms,
if we could narrow it down to the vagrancy calls, where we had action like prohibited camping, the city ordinance violation calls, if we could even narrow it down to those, and a few of the criminal ones that are more closely associated, would cut off mass amounts of time.
I would be okay with looking at something along those lines versus directing you to look through every single individual, because to be honest, I think vagrancy or something along those lines, I don't know what terms you guys would have them labeled at. That would be a healthier idea of what we're actually looking for.
I would much appreciate that.
And it's going to be difficult on the fire side too, because many of those are medical calls. So they're going to be listed as medical calls. They're not necessarily, so it's, to Gary's point, I just heard him say months of work. It's going to be some work to narrow down those numbers, which is why they were throwing out off the cuff percentages. But if council wants a detailed cost estimate, we need to spend a little more time on that.
Would
ton of time, chasing down every rabbit hole. So I'm okay.
You froze, Ellen. I don't know if you can hear us.
While she's waiting, the other part, if you're going for costs, I could have one officer show up and he or she could be a certain dollar value, and the next one shows up could be a rookie with a whole different dollar value, and figuring out what their cost was at the time, that's going to be interesting as well.
Does that label, like we talked about, switching it from being the overarching homeless concept to the more vagrant or if there's criminal or ordinance violations, does that make it a digestible thing, or is that still?
If you guys would allow me to take my patrol average, the average salary of my patrol, because I can figure that out and then run with that cost, that will be a whole lot different than trying to figure out who got a raise on what day and what their, oh my goodness.
That sounds totally fine. I mean, averages, just because that also, going through the future, we don't actually know what everybody's salaries are going to be in the future. That makes total sense to me. Is there, I know Chief's not here for fire. Do we think that there's going to be similar ways that he would be able to use his best judgment to empower you guys to do your
yeah, we can estimate on average costs for personnel, because he's going to have that same, depending on what day it is, what house is. Yeah, so we will have to use an average cost for employee costs, but there's still going to have to be some level of, I don't know how their calls are labeled, but I know a fire is going to look different than a medical, and I don't know how they break out medical other than they can do some searches by address, but that's going to get you kind of ballparky.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good point, boss.
The bulk of their calls are medical assists.
Yeah.
Way more than fires.
And for that's a very good point too. We can put the address that we know, those are all going to be in the right category. So we can do addresses, and then the known, understanding that we'll lose some in there because some will come across as, like I said, a noise complaint, and we get there and maybe it's someone banging on a window and it has something to do with homelessness.
I mean, I don't want to speak for the entirety of the council, but I feel like most of us are looking for general numbers anyways. Like I think a general understanding is going to be healthy for any of us. So
thank you.
Fire department is going to be able to separate theirs, because if somebody has a heart attack and is homeless, or a heart attack and you're a regular citizen, you'd help them out no matter what. And you don't walk to their homeless camp and say, okay, this is a homeless issue, even though you're having a heart attack, because wherever they are, they have a heart attack, you're going to get a medical call. And so it's not fair, I don't think, to say because you had a heart attack in a homeless camp, therefore that's a homeless issue, versus some other thing. I don't know what the fire department has that separates, okay, this is definitely a homeless issue versus just a regular body issue that you have to go live through.
I imagine, like what Nikki said earlier, if they'll probably use addresses. If they go to a place that's an actual physical residence, that probably wouldn't be homeless. And if it's a park or something else, that's where they'll probably do most of their research at. That's my assumption.
Okay, do we have enough understanding what we're gonna ask them to do?
I don't know if Councilor Porter wanted to finish her thought. She had frozen when she was speaking.
I keep losing my feed there, Nikki. I'm not quite sure why, but I don't remember what I was asking. So I think all I was saying was I think both the chiefs have a pretty good idea from their experience to be able to provide an educated estimate for areas that are kind of tough to quantify.
So we haven't landed on how far back we're going. Councilor Porter said 2 years. Councilor Weiss said 3 or 4. So it'd be helpful to get that narrowed down.
I'm okay with 2 years, just because we want some general info. We don't need to go back way too far.
I'm okay with 2 years.
I'm okay with 2.
I'm okay with 2.
Okay, so we're still going to follow the rules that we agreed to at the goal setting session, so I'll go right down the line. You got to say yes or no. You're up, Tom.
Yes.
Yes.
Katie, you're up.
Yes.
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 Ellen, you're up.
Yes.
Okay.
2 years,
2 years.
2 calendar years, or 2 years from March?
Yeah, it's probably easier calendar years. Yep. Okay, any other items? Okay, we are no executive session. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Good night.